Hi, my name is Nikki Cornwell and I'm a PhD candidate from the Centre for Data Analytics at Bond University. In this presentation, I'll be pitching my research titled Data-Driven Operational Risk Management, an improved understanding of the effect of causal factors. The overarching question my research addresses is how can an organisation's internal operational data be effectively leveraged to model the probability distributions of operational loss events with respect to changes in causal factors in an operational risk environment. To provide some background, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision defines operational risk as the risk of loss resulting from inadequate or failed internal processes, people and systems, or from external events. Although this definition is defined in the context of the banking industry, operational risks span across and are prevalent in all industries and have been, well, forever. However, as the operating environments of organisations become increasingly complex, dynamic and technologically integrated, operational risks too are becoming more and more prevalent. And there are substantial challenges in managing these operational risks with our current practices. Current ORM tools rely heavily on manual, document-based processes, such as qualitative risk assessments, controls testing, audits, and post-incident root cause analyses. Not only are these processes costly, but the subjective biases of individual assessors having the potential to infiltrate these activities. And the organisations are making decisions based on infrequent and static snapshots of their operational risk environment. With these challenges, we're seeing high financial costs, reputational damage, and also an internal impact on the people in organisations flow through. And so this has given rise to the field of research applying data analytics to operational risk management, with experts suggesting that the future of ORM will be defined by data-driven approaches supplementing expert guidance. By integrating multiple sources of loss and operational data and processing it with various data analytics techniques, researchers have identified what factors typically cause loss events. However, these existing approaches do not allow for in-depth insights to be uncovered about how causal factors influence the probability of a loss event, which would inform more proactive and timely decision-making. Which brings me to the core idea of this study, which is to develop an approach that improves our understanding of the effect of causal factors. This will involve developing and empirically testing a generic modelling framework that processes raw operational and loss data to understand how causal factors influence the probability of an operational loss event. In doing this, we expect to uncover 3 characteristics of operational risk events with respect to their causal factors. First, the thresholds of causal factors at which the probability of a loss event critically changes. Secondly, the relative importance of causal factors contributing to the probability of a loss event. And finally, any compound effects of multiple causal factors co-occurring. Now, obviously, the data is a critical aspect of this study's feasibility. So the data will be used, will relate to several specific operational risk events. For each of these events, the data is twofold. First, we have event-level loss data about the occurrences of each operational loss event or near miss, which will form and inform the probability of a loss event. And secondly, we have the operational data of operational factors that may relate to the loss event. And this will act as the independent variables, if you like, or the causal factor inputs. This study will prototype the framework on publicly available time series data from onboard flight monitoring systems from 26 regional commercial aircraft over a 4-year period. It contains 186 variables measured at 1-secondly intervals, 9 of which are warning sensors, for example, warning of a fire, traffic or ground collisions. And these will be interpreted as indicators of operational loss events in this research. And all other factors will be used as the operational data or the potential causal factors. So what will we do with this data? Well, in terms of the method and tools, a multi-case, multi-technique study will be conducted across several modelling techniques that have been determined from an extensive literature review. These include Bayesian networks, decision trees, regression, support vector machines, tree ensembles, and other hybrid approaches. For each risk event and technique, the standard 3-step train, validate, test data science methodology to train and evaluate models will be followed to avoid overfitting and minimise bias. Based on the optimal model derived from each technique on each risk event, their performance will be compared in terms of accuracy and generalisability, as well as computationally efficiency, using relevant performance metrics, ultimately to derive a general modelling approach. All analysis and modelling will be primarily conducted in R, a free open source statistical programming language, and other software will be used as necessary, for example, Python. And cloud computing infrastructure through the Nectar Research Cloud will be used to provide sufficient computing processing power given the scale of the dataset. So with the core idea, data and method in mind, let's now consider what's new in this research. So this study intersects the traditionally manual and qualitative field of operational risk management with data analytics and the large volumes of operational data that exist in organisations. And this intersection represents the emerging area of research and practice. In particular, however, 2 key novelties of this study are in the data and the method. So rather than relying on data elicited by experts, as in many existing causal factor studies, we are leveraging the raw data generated and collected directly from the operating environment itself. And this will allow for more objective insights and importantly enable almost continuous monitoring in near real time in an organisation, since we won't have to first survey their inputs from humans. Many studies model operational risk in categories, for example, risk ratings of high, medium or low risk. However, our approach aims to model operational risk as a continuous probability to reflect the ever-changing nature of an operational risk profile and provide more detailed risk insights. But so what? Why does this matter? Well, building on the core novelties, we've established that the insights from the approach developed will provide risk managers with more detailed and a more objective understanding of their risk profile in near real time. This will help inform proactive decision making and targeted mitigation efforts in a timely manner to ultimately reduce the frequency and severity of costly incidents, be they financially, directly or indirectly costly, physically costly or otherwise. Before I close with the bottom line contribution of the study, I'd like to note some other important considerations. There are no significant risks associated with the study at this stage, given the data and the tools are publicly and freely available, and ethical clearance has been obtained. The large-scale nature of the data poses some potential scope issues, which will be monitored and refined as the study progresses if required. And we're targeting Q1 and A-ranked journals for publication that have a focus on operational risk and operations decision making, including the Journal of the Operational Research Society, Safety Science, Risk Analysis, and Decision Support Systems. And importantly, these journals also have a growing agenda for the data-driven ORM field of research. To conclude, the core contribution of this research is an effective, computationally efficient, and interpretable approach to model the probability distributions of operational loss events with respect to changes in causal factors in an operational risk environment, with the main consequence of this being to yield precise and actionable insights for risk managers on the ground. Not only will this approach extend the emerging academic field of research, but it will also advance ORM practice from reactive to proactive management. Thank you.